Hello, hello, and welcome. Split 1 is complete for RLCS SSA. It's time to discuss how the whole split went, how the first half of the season has gone for SSA. Of course, there's the influx of imports. Have the locals held their own, or has it completely gone full chaos? We're going to talk about it all. As you can see, this was the result of Open number 3, the final Open for this Birmingham Major. Limitless got their third rematch, or I guess their third match in the Grand Finals against Foot Esports, aka Maestros, aka VK Salin, Leoro, and Torres, and lost for a third time. Foot Esports going to the Major of Birmingham from the SSA region, not representing SSA. RL Esports Twitter. Come on, man. Yeah, that was interesting. Okay, we're going to move on, though. We're going to talk about how these teams performed, what we can look forward to in Split 2, but give you basically a visual of what Split 1 looked like. And we're going to also unveil a top 10 of the region, showcasing each country that these players are from, and talking about what teams will look like in Split 2. But let's get to it. Foot Esports S+. Listen, I got rid of the S+ tier midway through the season because Limitless played a best-of-5 seeding match against Foot Esports and beat them, and then they took them to Game 6. Things started to look a little more narrow between Limitless and Foot Esports, so I put them all in the same tier, but Foot Esports at the front. That changes after this previous Open. No doubt about it, Foot Esports dismantled Limitless in their two meetings, one in the GSL, one in the finals. Was not even close. Limitless looked like a shadow of their former selves. However, Limitless, you look great against everybody else. They even swept Hey with Riz, who is my only other S team. After the other two matches of Limitless and Hey with Riz were best of 7, Game 7 overtimes. So Limitless sweeping them in the semifinals was a great mark to firmly stamp Limitless as number 2 in the region. That is, again, to die for, Sweaty, and Snowy. If you're not familiar, Hey with Riz is Karka, Ivan, and Revezi, 2 Spanish players and an English player. Hey with Riz continued to take care of everybody else very, very easily. They did suffer a Swiss loss against Cristobal Cologne. We'll talk about that team later, but otherwise, yeah, this team firmly takes care of everybody else below them. That is why these are your top 3 of the region. Full stop. So credit to them. Now, talking about next split, Foot Esports should obviously stick together. I would imagine Limitless should stick together. I would imagine. I've heard a rumor. Gonna throw it out there that Hey with Riz is not gonna be sticking together. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. I'm just here to spice up the pot. But let's get to the A tier. Let's talk about everybody else. Cosmico, they lost guns. We're not even gonna talk about the drama of that. I'm not here to go through that. The point is they played with their substitute Happy Meal, and I'm keeping them at the top of A tier. They actually looked pretty solid. Apparently Happy Meal doesn't play the game too much. If you don't know Happy Meal, he is a veteran of the scene, commonly in that runner-up team that is just behind Snowy's team. And for him to slot in and play so well with Cosmico, bring them to the top 4 even of the playoffs, was awesome. They contended with Hey with Riz, but then lost their top 6 match against Bulletproof, formerly Dunno Chief. That's their logo. Bulletproof, you didn't submit a new logo, so now you get the Dunno Chief logo. But anyways, Dunno Chief is the Rubik's and a German duo of Youngstar and Bryza. And oh my god, this match right here was Hydrogen Bomb versus Coughing Baby. Cosmico, what went down there? I mean, let's look at the score. 6-0, 7-3, 4-2, 4-2. I mean, to score 4 goals at least in every single game is, whew, that is something else, man. That adjustment really never came through for Cosmico. Shout out to Rubik's team. Rubik's, again, former teammate of VK Salin and Leoro. He's a 3-time regional winner in SSA from last season. So this is a very competent player and found a very explosive duo in Youngstar and Bryza. Bryza hit the most mechanical plays, probably hit the 5 of the top 5 insane goals in this event. Just a ridiculous offensive showing from this team over and over and over again. So shout out to them. I mean, they look good, but they actually don't look as good as Bosch. Bosch to me were the highest upwards trending team coming into Open number 3, and they actually met my expectations. They swept in Swiss. I think they lost a seeding matchup against Cosmico, but that didn't really matter too much. And then to get knocked out in the playoffs, they played Limitless and Foot Esports. They took them both to Game 6. This Labash team is really, really solid. They've got Inspire, who leads the attack, and they've got Daze, who's a flip reset double tapping machine, and they've got Risen, who is a very quality shot taker. To me, this Labash team is like really, really close to being S tier. Really dangerously close. Like, I would have loved to see Labash and Hay with Riz play. Sadly for Labash, they do suffer inconsistency. You'll see a clip of Inspire just centering it to the other team and them scoring on them. They'll make these one-off mistakes or get caught overextending that leads them to get trampled by teams. Well, not trampled, but pretty decisively beaten by teams who minimize those mistakes and are great at capitalizing on them, like Limitless and especially Foot Esports is. So Labash, some improvements to make if they stick together. Who really knows? I don't know that anyone other than Foot Esports and Limitless is even sticking together next split. We'll talk more about that later. This one's a little more controversial, guys. Musty Flux stays in A tier even after not making the first top 8. But listen, hear me out. The reason they didn't make top 8 was because they played against Bulletproof and Labash. So, if they lost to a B tier team to miss out on top 8, I'd understand, but they actually had a really difficult run. This team of Rexo, Mads, and Creamy is so strong. They're so good, and realistically they did underperform, but they're consistent enough this split to stay in the A tier. I don't think this team's sticking together. I think Rexo is leaving. Leaving Mads and Creamy to maybe stick together and pick up a third. I really don't know how that's gonna work. Drink break here. As we get into the B tier, let's get it. Unfortunately, there were some teams that moved from A to B, so let's start with them. 77 blocks. I mean, what happened, guys? Twins are Twister, and their Belgian third. Didn't do it this time. They even forfeited one of their first matches in the GSL stage. We'll talk about forfeits later, but losing it to Insanity in the lower bracket of the GSL stage leaves them out for top 8 contention after they had one of the best opens you could ever ask for this team. You have to remember the Twinser and Twister both played in SSA last season. They're very familiar and comfortable with playing on this 160 ping from Germany, yet they really underperformed this event. And actually, Cristobal Cologne, they're right behind 77 blocks. They're right away from A tier. They moved down to the B tier. You want to know why? Because they didn't show up for the GSL stage. They forfeited both matches. And let's just talk about this, guys. How are we not showing up for RLCS? I mean, I don't get it. I'm sure each team has their excuses, like one starter couldn't make it or something, but even a team like Ball Eater, who doesn't even have a logo, so I can't put them up here. Mira, the rumor is they napped and they missed a playoff match. For Saturday, I'm just not getting it, guys. You have to realize that if there was ever a DQ, if there was ever a forfeit from a team in the past for SSA, and I've been covering this region since the very beginning, 2021, it was because they were affected by load shedding and they didn't have power. Now all the forfeits are happening because these import teams who have forced some SSA players out of these positions, who have encouraged these SSA local players to retire, are taking these playoff spots and then forfeiting and not showing up. It's a privilege to play in RLCS, and so many of these import teams are just forfeiting their spots. Look at this playoff. Look at this playoff. 77 blocks forfeit. Cristobal Cologne forfeit. Even in the top 8, Ball Leader forfeit. And we used to be so worried about forfeits back in the earlier seasons because we were afraid that, after RLCS gave SSA a region, they wouldn't be able to take the region seriously because there were forfeits because of the load shedding. Now it's worse because import teams aren't taking this seriously enough. And you know what? I know there's some situations. I know in the first Open Dunno Chief, they had to forfeit their top 6 spot because of someone getting sick. In that case, you should have a substitute, but I digress. It's still just very disappointing. And I had to make a rant about that. But my rant is over, so let's move on. Genesix. You guys are in the 11th spot here, the third in the B tier. You guys had very consistent showing here. It's sad to see Friction go, but I'm excited to see where he'll move to for split number 2. Friction had a great piece in Graybeard's podcast earlier, so definitely listen to that if you haven't already. And Haiba are right next to these guys. Awesome to hear as well that Haiba is sticking together for the next split. That's Skill Steal, Ravi, and Devour. And you know what? I predicted them to be in the top 4 of the playoffs based on their bracket run. They just had to beat Cosmico, and they almost did. They went to game number 5. If they won game number 5, Haiba would have done it. They would have been top 4 in the playoffs. Starting in that upper bracket, they would not have finished top 4. So I was very close on that prediction, and the fact that they're sticking together this season, split 2 or so I have heard. We'll see if that changes. It's really exciting. Really exciting. Can't wait to see more from them. Astronic earned their B tier spot. But I'm going to be honest about something for Astronic. Y'all had a Mickey run. You did. You did. You know, you can't argue it. You know what? It looks good from an outsider's perspective. Galactica didn't win a single matches. Circuit, Celestial Vanguard win is actually solid. And then Brodus absolutely through. They should have went to the top 16 despite 2 of these players having teamed with a DDoSer in the last round. So I don't even know why the Brodus were able to play in this split. Maybe there's just some specificity in the roles that doesn't get rid of that. So this actually was a quality win for Astronic, but the rest was really not. Astronic, you lost to Haiba. You moved on from a forfeit. You would not have won against Cristobal Colon. And then you play Deathcloud Esports, which Deathcloud... okay, Deathcloud's hard. They actually exceeded my expectations come this open. Eliakim being a great addition to this roster. Deathcloud getting a win over Bulletproof was crazy. Taking Labosh to game 5 was crazy. So I guess this is a good win here for you, Astronic. But again, being able to move on from a forfeit is kind of wild. And then you got stomped by Limitless. Yeah, it was a 4-1, but like, bro, 5-0, 4-2, 4-2, 6-1. I mean, that was almost a Brazil at the end. So, you know, I'm not trying to stomp on Astronic. I'm not trying to badmouth their name. It's just that y'all got a top 8 for what? And Yellow is apparently looking for new teammates anyway. After Yellow and Bayerchu lost Torres, his team just sadly was never able to see their former success. So we'll see if that roster switches up in the next split. The final team that I'll talk about is Celestial Vanguard. This has just been a very solid, consistent, nearly top 8 team the whole split. We could have easily seen them grab a top 8 spot, much like the way that Astronic did here, if they got a similar run. But Astronic beat them, you know? So that's what ended up happening. They took their place instead. C tier, I'm going to move through the rest of this pretty quickly. Insanity is your fully Portuguese team that does surprise against some B tier teams, but otherwise has stuck in their place. Trifecta moved down. They underperformed a bit here in this open. Crazy Times seemed to give a lot of teams a run for their money, and I'm going to put Relentless down another tier. Or no, they were down between open 1 and 2. They stay in C tier here this time around. Relentless is a rebranded Decimate. We lose Zany Star. Sadly, completely underperformed this split, and they will change moving into split number 2. Finally, you have Unity, who I think had Lackstar and Defunct this time around. Would have loved to see them make a greater push there. White Rabbit Gaming has been in the lower top 32, and same with Omen Esports. You also got Omnius Gaming and FC, who haven't really had a quality win yet to show for themselves. I don't think Omnius went 0-3 during this Swiss run, but still, need to see anything out of them to put them ahead of F tier. And Pony New Jitsu split, and this represents all the teams that don't have logos. I can't put you on a tier list if you don't have a logo. So, guys, this is our tier list. Take a look at how these teams moved. Oh, I guess Relentless did move down. Okay. As did 77 Blocks and Cristobal Colon, but Thunder Chief, aka Bulletproof, do move up. But Esports moves up. Astronic and Deathcloud had really good events as well. So there's your general look at open number 3 and basically how the split ended. And this, I think, gives a really good look as to what the whole region looks like. Again, take note of how many SSA flags you see. 6. out of the 10 times 3, 30 potential flags in Limitless and Cosmico. Yeah, they are in top 4, but then you look and the depth's just not there. This is Labosh, Ball Eater, Bulletproof, Mustaflux, 77 Blocks, and Cristobal Cologne. They're just better. Maybe if you get to 11 and 12, you have Genesix and Haiba. But again, we're looking at top 10. This is what it looks like. Another thing to note about these top 10 teams is most aren't even sticking together. Footy Esports probably will. Limitless probably will. But the rest of these guys, I don't think Hey with Riz is sticking around. Cosmico obviously or not. Labosh could. I haven't really investigated that. Ball Eater, I don't think are. Don't know for sure. Bulletproof could stick together. Mustaflux will not. 77 Blocks, we'll see. Cristobal Cologne, they've already had changes throughout the split, so we'll see. But yeah, there's your top 10. I think it's important to take note of the flags. This is the current state of RLCS SSA after split 1. We had questions as to, you know, would locals hold their ground? But as you can see, this is the result. I do have hopes for split 2 to change around. You know, I think some top players in the region tried some edgier teams. Some worked out, some didn't. And now you have a lot of free agents. So can they band together to put teams together early in this break between split 1 and split 2, grind, and come into split 2 willing to shake things up? I hope so. I hope so. And then Haiba continuing hopefully to stick together and grinding and getting better and better for preparation of split 2 to, yeah, help Cosmico and Limitless, you know, push into these spots. I'm feeling a little bit optimistic about it, but I think that's all I have. I think that's all I have to talk about, guys. This is your, again, your tier list for, and your, yeah, power rankings for SSA after the Birmingham Major opens. Tune in, continue. Please leave a subscription, leave a like, and leave a comment based on my interpretation of this split and tell me what you think I got wrong or right. We'll be covering some more stuff, and as well, I want to run some off-season events. Namely, I want to reinstate the 2v2 mix-ups that I'd run for the local SSA players. So if you're a pro and you're interested in that, but you hadn't been participating in it earlier, let me know. Would love to get you involved. And that's about all I have. Thanks for tuning in. I'll see you for more coverage during the break between split 1 and split 2 with events and, like I said, coverage. And then, of course, for the second split of RLCS 2025. Catch you next video. Peace.